2022. First order of business is approval of the minutes for our meeting 6/27/2022. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
Yep.
I have a motion to approve,
I would
please.
move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Any changes that need to be made?
I didn't see them, so I really can't vote, I guess. That I didn't actually
You
see
didn't
them.
see them, okay. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. All those opposed?
Abstain. That was absent.
You go. So we have 2 abstentions, 1, 2, 3. We have 4 of us. We're here, though. We can prove that. It's 4 with 2 abstentions and 1 absentee. Okay. Okay, the way we proceed tonight at all our meetings, on each issue that comes up, the first thing we do is ask the applicant to state their case, what they'd like to do. We'll then ask staff for any comments that they may have on the application. We'll then open the proceedings up to the audience. You don't have to have signed up. We don't have anyone signed up, but if you have something to say after the applicant has made their presentation, please do. We'll give everyone a chance to say your piece. I guess, as always, please be conscious of our time, not only our time, but your time. Don't be terribly repetitive, but we do want everyone to say their piece if you have something to say. The applicant will then get a chance to, better word, rebuttal, just to kind of further explain what they want to do in light of what the comments were, and then the board will take it into consideration. Okay, first application we have is variance application number VA 22-006. Brooks Engineering Associates. Zachary Wortman is requesting a road variance from the required 150-foot tangent between curves. TMS number 099-00-02-002, an unaddressed parcel with a closest address of 395 Kiwitown Landing Road, Salem, South Carolina. Is Mr. Wortman here?
Yes.
Okay. Please step forward and state your name for the record, please.
Zachary Wortman. I'm with Brooks Engineering. Can we start on that PDF there? And then you can just start on the second sheet of it, the one on the right. Yeah, so we are proposing a variance in the tangent between curves that is required of 150 feet. The main reason for this is to prevent additional land disturbance on site. So there's an existing gravel road that's 12 foot wide that runs down this site. So people do have access to the end, to their homes. The proposed road is going to be 20 foot wide, providing 2 lanes of traffic. And I've driven down that road. It's hard to get around people. So really, the 150-foot tangent is going to be for safety reasons, sight distances. With this road,
You can walk over there and show us.
can I go over here
Yeah.
and show you guys? So this is the tangent, or the tangent is going to be the straight line between 2 curves, and Oconee County requires 150 feet between those. We don't meet that on this road because we're trying to follow the gravel road as much as possible to avoid tearing up land while we build this project. So sight distance is the main reason for this tangent. According to AASHTO, which is a main design guide for civil engineers for roads, the required distance of sight for a 25-mile-an-hour road is 155 feet. This includes reactionary time distance and stopping distance. So this is the worst case scenario curve in terms of sight distance right here. On the screen, it's 157 feet, so it meets AASHTO requirements. And also, you can see the site profile here. There's no obstructions blocking the person's view from the car. We also meet the 150-foot radiuses on this site. And really, the main reason for this is to prevent additional land disturbance during construction.
Okay, so this is up in one of the Cliffs communities?
Yes.
One of the new Cliffs communities?
Yes.
And very low density? You got lots here, 2, 3, 4 acres?
Yeah, couple acres.
Not like we're putting a bunch of houses in there.
Yeah, no, it's a low density development.
Help me understand you talk about the variance is for a 150-foot tangent between curves. There's your curve like this, a curve like you gotta have 150 feet straight line.
Yeah, you have to have a 150-foot straight line in between curves.
And you're saying you've got 157 feet, so why are we here?
So that's not the that's the sight distance. So
Oh,
if someone's
sight line.
coming up to a curve, they can see 155 feet down the road, which will give them ample
Still in
time
the
to
curve.
stop.
They're
Yeah,
still in the curve, they haven't got the straight line.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
So we don't have the straight line, but we have ample stopping distances for a 25-mile-per-hour road, but it's probably gonna be more like a 15-mile-an-hour road just for a safety factor.
And if the variance is not approved, what will you do?
We're gonna have to straighten out, we're gonna have to make tangents and deviate from the gravel road, and it's not gonna change lot numbers, but it's gonna disturb a lot of that hillside out there.
So that's a hillside there.
Yeah, and that's the issue with the tangents. It's very hard in more hilly conditions or mountainous conditions to get the tangents to work out on a project like this. So when you do have to follow that and meet those tangents, it's gonna require a lot more land disturbance.
So those requirements don't change depending on the surface of the road? I mean, gravel versus hardtop? Stopping distance on gravel versus stopping distance on that doesn't change?
I mean, these are for hardtop, so this road's gonna be paved.
Okay.
The stopping distance is at Ashto.
I
puts
thought
on-
you said something about gravel road here.
It's an existing gravel road currently, so people have access to their homes at the end of the road.
Yeah.
Cliffs Timber is proposing to come in and pave this road. And it's currently 12 feet wide, which I've driven up and down it with cars coming by me. It's not the most fun to pull off. So they're gonna make it 20-foot wide to provide better access down that road and should cause less issues in the long run.
So this road's been around a long time.
I believe so.
Are those Cliffs homes down there, or are those homes that were on the
No,
property
those
beforehand?
are not. Those are from the property
Okay.
beforehand. And we also have a letter from one of the property owners at the end of that road. If, Vivian, can you pull up?
I'll read that when when
Okay, okay.
time comes for public comment.
That sounds good.
As a follow-up on the other comments and questions they were asked, if 150 is the is the standard, what is it you want a variance to, I guess? I mean, is it 140, 130?
Because you only have 100.
He's only got 150, he's got less than 150 feet of straight line between the curves. What he's
Right.
saying is coming around the curve, as you come around, you can see 157 feet. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
You can see the 157 feet, but you haven't actually got 150 feet of straight line between the two curves.
Straight road. Yeah.
But the variance is to what then?
Yeah, he's asking, if I can.
How much is,
He's asking what is,
How
what.
much is current straight line?
There's a couple on this project. They range from 50 in some spots to 110, but in general, that's the worst case curve there. It's about, I think, a 20-foot tangent, but all sight distances are provided for driving vehicles.
Essentially, you're asking for a variance to any smaller amount than 150?
Yeah, I mean, anything that's less than 100, under 150 will be covered by the variance
On this road.
on the roads in this subdivision.
It's like 2 or 3, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a couple, yeah.
So without being difficult, so it's basically anything less than 150 is okay for this road?
I think that's what we
That's what
were
he's
saying.
asking.
That's what the proposal is.
Yes.
That's what he said.
And your rationale is you don't want the less disturbance around the property and safety is what you're.
Yeah, so the sight lines are for safety. They'll provide people enough time to react, like, when they do the stopping times, it's a reaction time plus the time it takes to stop, and then that's how they get those foot values. So like for a 15-mile-an-hour road, which this is probably gonna be, the required distance for reactionary time and then stopping time is 80 feet in a passenger car. And we'll provide 150 feet of sight distance.
Will this become a county road?
No, it's gonna be private.
It's gonna be private?
Yes.
So who's gonna enforce the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit?
That's what it'll be posted, speed limit signs.
We have security in our HOA.
Yeah.
I'm the project manager, I'm sorry, but we have, our security
Okay,
Keith
we'll let
Glenn.
you can come up later if you want to talk.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just trying to.
If you'd like to say something now, you're welcome to.
Yes,
Come up
sir.
and,
No, sir.
no, come up and make your comments if you'd like.
I'm Keith Glenn, I'm the project manager. We have private security that enforces speed limit within the entire community. Thank you.
One thing we need to consider on this tangent, though, there's a difference between the tangency and the line of sight. The line of sight is critically important, you're exactly right, but when you get ready to come to court, one of the reasons AASHTO puts that out there for that length is also so you can navigate the curve.
Yes.
So when you get that hairpin curve, if you're coming this way, even if you're going 15 miles an hour and somebody's trailering a boat and coming up the other side, you may see them coming, but no, somebody's going to have to back up. Somebody's going to have to back up or move over. Even when you widen it out, because you're basically saying 20 feet, so you got two 10-foot lanes.
Yes.
So if you're, let's don't get hung up on just the idea of the sight line. You can still see it, which is good. That means you're not gonna come over around some curve and then run into somebody. But there's still a possibility you're gonna have a backup there. You're gonna have a bottleneck at some point, and I think that's another reason AASHTO does straighten that out a little bit too. So,
AASHTO straightens?
yeah, well, AASHTO are as far as saying how much distance you have to have, between a tangent section and a curve.
So that's not an AASHTO regulation. AASHTO doesn't, we design roads in North Carolina all the
I understand
time.
I build roads in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And AASHTO does have a lot of say-so as far as what, now, it may be not.
It is ours.
And you can, I know you're gonna respond to it a little bit, as far as what the county has to abide by. Now, if it's a private road, I guess I guess you can put popcorn out there if you want to.
If you allow us to take time to get staff input,
Okay.
and you're gonna have another chance to talk at the end, but
Okay.
unless you have something
Yeah,
else you want to
no,
say.
I'm good.
We'd like to hear staff input.
Okay.
On what the issues are, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Reed? First of all, thank you very much for being here tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thank y'all for
Appreciate
having me.
Help us understand.
So, he's correct when he's saying that the sight distance is a concern whenever you get away from tangent, and it is correct that there is no AASHTO requirement for, and even DOT doesn't really have a requirement for tangent, between reverse curves. Generally, that's handled in a transition. You're talking about highways and that kind of stuff. So it's handled in the transition from super elevation, which generally most curves on a highway have super elevation. So there's that transition length that you have to run out. and
What is
that's what
super
makes it
elevation?
So when you have a crown road, it's normally 2% and 2% going opposite each other.
Yep.
When you get into a super elevation, you could have 2% and 2% and, positive and positive.
Huh.
So basically like, Talladega, the super speedways, they super elevate the curves so the cars stay in them. And that's to keep you from sliding off the road. So whenever you get into that super elevation, you go from 2 to 2, and then 2 to 0, and then, so you have to transition into that curve, so it's not just, a hard transition into it, and there's links that are required for that. So generally, the tangent, is handled, the tangent between curves is played out in that transition of super elevation. The main concern super elevation is that you go from, with an S curve, is that you go from, turning your wheel one way and then you gotta turn your wheel the other. Well, there's a lag in that when you turn. So whenever you have a transition, you have a length of time to be able to make that adjustment. The 150 feet is, the minimum for that. I've never seen that standard anywhere else as far as spelled out. A lot of the local governments use that same 150. We're all kind of creatures of habit, so we copy each other. But generally, that's the issue. So whenever you go down in design speed, then it does make a difference. Like, we don't go down below 25. Every road, going to be a county road, is 25. It makes no difference, because people drive them at 35. So even if they're designed at 25, so there is that concern for our end of it, is we don't have somebody that will be there particularly to watch and make sure that people are going whatever. But You know, like Mr. McKee said, if you have a trailer, boat behind it, and then you're making that turn and you try to turn over, especially if you have a boat, off tracking is a concern with any trailer, in one of those curves. So that's the biggest reason for the tangent length between. And again, sight distance is a huge issue, and what he's telling you, the 155 feet for a 25 mile per hour road, all that's correct. That's what you want as far as that goes, but again, you're taking your eye one way and then taking it the other. So that's the biggest thing between the tangent, and now what he's saying with the 20 feet compared to the 110, all that makes a difference between your gap in your timing as far as being able to make that maneuver, that turn, the distance between. So the hard bull thing is, whenever you have that S curve and you're going from here to there and you're having to turn immediately, that is a more concern. A slower design speed, can be, a consideration for any of that as far as how people are actually going to maneuver the road if they drive at that speed limit.
Let me ask a question. If it's stated that it's not going to be a county road, it's going to remain a private road, why can't they do whatever they want to do?
Still the same deal. Every private road that has more than 11 residences, 11 or more dwellings on it, has to be done to the county standards.
Okay.
So
I'll get fire
it's got to
department in
meet
there,
all
all
the
that
county
good stuff.
standards. Building codes for road building, so to speak.
Have you got an opinion on this request?
No. Sorry, fellas. No, I do not have an
I'm
opinion.
sorry, I had to ask.
You've got a licensed professional engineer, giving you his feedback, whatever requirements y'all may have for signage or anything else like that y'all would want to see done outside of this, or just no, because the precedent's set. So it needs to be unique, and it needs to be something that's considered as far as that's concerned. But as far as whether it will work or not, that's going to be left to the people that are driving it, to make that decision. Now, safely maneuvering it, how you want to, handle that curve. I can tell you, like the 150 foot curve minimum for us, that is a small minimum. So that is a tight curve
For a county road,
for any road.
any road?
Anything, yeah. Normally, for you to have a 150-foot road, 150-foot radius on a road, I believe it's 6% super elevation to have that curve and it be safely maneuvered. But our minimum is 150 feet. And, that's what it is. No super elevation, no requirement of anything like that. So they are meeting that in this design. I know I'm not helping much, but, again, for whatever, decide that it does meet the requirements for a variance. If there is something that you would want to put on it as far as signage, stuff like that with the S-curve signs and whatever you want to say, any of those kind of requirements, or, no, because it doesn't meet the 150, but, the 150 is not, I don't want to lead y'all astray, the 150 is not a national standard. It's not. It's what the county puts on, or has said that they want to see between tangents for all the reasons I've listed.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, given the circumstances, would you say that the 15 mile an hour limit would be appropriate for that?
You can run through the gap timing of making that maneuver. 20 going down to 20 feet is fairly low on that end. But as far as how you sign it and what you put on that curve whenever you get down there, again, you can put a cautionary down to 5. We have several of them on our county roads that are down there that were not designed. They're just farm to market roads that we got, and we have signs. So I'm not. This scenario no worse than anything we have on our county roads. We sign it.
Would you have recommendations on what signage would be appropriate for that road if we approve?
Well, I mean, it would, an S-curve sign that would be an appropriate sign to put on it, and whatever regulatory speed limit, or not regulatory, but cautionary speed limit that he would want to, he sees fit to put on that, because again, you got the sight distance issue, and then you've got the alignment issue. So if you're going down, I believe this is around it's around a knoll, so You know, you may not have those concerns as far as going up a hill. You're not gonna be going as fast. Now, if you're going down a hill going down to a pipe and a creek, then just letting your foot off the gas is, or letting your, just coasting is gonna get you faster than that, you know, on that end. So, you know, everything just, setting precedents and making a decision about the 150 feet is not really setting precedent as long as the considerations are for specific sites and specific reasons. So the S-curve sign and,
Well, I guess we put up dangerous curve signs or something like that.
yeah, well, it's
Caution,
actually,
dangerous
it's
curve.
actually an S, yeah. It's just, we don't really do word signs anymore, it's all pictures. So, you know, that's the sign that you put up is the S.
Do they have to use county signs or can they use word signs?
No, that's a MUTCD requirement. That's a manual uniform traffic control devices requirement, so it's a federal standard.
So that
yeah.
it has to be
You can
visual.
put words on a street sign, but generally by MUTCD, they're getting away from worded signs.
Okay. And I guess an issue might be, a consideration here might be that this is really not serving a large, it's a dead-end road, first of all, and it's not serving a very large community.
Yeah, whatever considerations y'all take into account.
I'm just trying to,
Retirement place where there's gonna be drivers that may be going slower, yeah, again, enforcement. And they can do different things like putting speed bumps across the road that we would never do because of the liability of them. But, you know, they can do all sorts of different things to denote, call out, whatever that condition on the road. But generally, we put S signs up.
how we doing? We got any more questions for Mr. Reed? We'll go to public comment, then we'll come back and the applicant can make any comments. Okay? Okay, I have one letter we received. My name is Shane Mullen. I live at 194 Rattlesnake Ridge Road, Salem, South Carolina. I wanted to express my support for Brooks Engineering Associates' request for a variance in Rattlesnake Ridge Road. Develops a welcome addition to their community. They've struggled with the gravel road for a long time. It's narrow and steep. Had trouble with a recent fire truck response. So they're welcoming the road to try and get better development into their community and better access to their existing homes. Okay. Time for the public. Any public comments? Anyone in the audience like to say something? Please don't be shy. Haven't bitten anyone yet. Okay, hearing none. Does the applicant have anything to say? Anything further to say?
Just a couple more things. I mean, the S sign would work great, and just for your reference, we do a lot of engineering in the mountainous area of western North Carolina, and NCDOT requirements a 90-foot radius, and they don't do tangent curves or lines between curves. So a lot of the roads we design in more mountainous and hilly areas don't have tangents at all, and I just want to let you know we've never had issues with them. Just one input, just because we have a lot of experience designing curves like this, and they generally work well.
What's
For
the drop off of
subdivision.
these roads on each side? Is it ditches?
Yeah,
Steep
so-
drop offs? What is it? Is
so-
there guardrails? I guess is my question.
So it's a low density development, so all the stormwater has to be collected in swales. So the side of the roads, they will drop off, but there's gonna be a 6-foot wide shoulder to put a grass swale in the middle of it. So there will be a significant shoulder. I mean, it's a swale, so it'll be a foot deep,
Yeah.
but there will be a significant
dropping
shoulder.
25
You're not
feet in the
dropping-
woods.
No,
Okay.
you're not dropping straight off the side. So, that's it.
I got a question for the
Questions
HOA
from the
guy. Can you come up?
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts on speed bumps? Just to make
I'm the
sure.
project manager, not the HOA manager.
Okay.
Generally, the reception of the community is very mixed.
Yeah.
Some people will say, I bought here and it wasn't here. And obviously, we have to be considerate of our residents on the end of that road who are not part of the close community. If you know that road, the Head family lives down there, she was the mayor of Salem, among others, and they have a perpetual ingress egress easement to use our community. I'm not against them. I just generally find that it's a very mixed reception. So that's really all I would say about speed bumps.
How about 5 miles an hour?
On that curve, I mean, if people do it, that'd be great.
Not that
Yeah, I mean, that's,
public road,
I mean,
but
if that were a requirement of the variance, would that?
yes, I mean, yes, sir. I mean,
Would that be acceptable to you?
yes, sir. I love my residents. We have a lot of places that are 25. They call me all the time about a construction truck doing 40, but I see as many of them doing the same. So we do have a security staff, and we do try to enforce speed limits within that community. It's a large community. Basically, the land we own goes from Kiwi Key almost to, way up north. So it's a challenge, but we would not be adverse to that requirement. And to be clear, part of our consideration here was consideration of those residents and future residents as it relates to land disturbance. We try to be a low impact developer. So that road was here. It's actually platted road. I mean, at some point someone said that's a good road in Oconee County. Obviously, that's a long time ago. So we're what we were told to do and what we will do when we can is, as Kyle knows, I enjoy working with Kyle, by the way, is update everything to current county standards. And that's a requirement, as he said, 11 lots or more, whether you're public or private. So, yes.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the? Okay, hearing none, let's proceed to consider this. Well, why don't we have some discussion first? What do people think?
Are we considering 4 and 5 together, or are they separate?
They're separate. We'll go through some of the same issues on the second one. We'll cover it all. On this one, we may have a very short second one. Got to cover them separately, though, because they're two separate roads.
I would think it'd be appropriate to grant it with the condition that they have appropriate S-curve signs and a 5-mile-an-hour speed limit as a condition of the variance.
And I would agree, particularly with apparently the construction or the disruption of the land that they have to do to avoid this problem, that would not be beneficial.
I think Cliffs has proven to be a pretty good conservator of the land. They do a good job. I respond a little bit to comments that they have curves like this in North Carolina where they've developed properties. So I think they want to do the right thing here. I don't think they want to put in something that's dangerous for the residents necessarily. So the reputation, I think, helps us in our consideration. Any other discussion? Comments before we, okay. Consider the issue. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. There's a motion in the affirmative, please.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think it's pretty evident. It's a special situation. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. It's unanimous, 6-0. These conditions, do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. I have a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
In the affirmative. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
6-0. Approved. Because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved in the affirmative.
And a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. 6-0 approved. The authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent uses or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. I have a motion in the affirmative,
So
please.
moved in the affirmative.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this one? All comfortable? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. 60-0, approved. Based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed variance be approved?
I propose that, I'm sorry.
While we get to discussion, and we'll add whatever we want to add.
Okay,
So if I get the motion in a second, then we'll discuss.
okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
Yes, I would like to put the provision that they have appropriate S-curve signs and a 5-mile-an-hour speed limit
Does that meet our needs?
as a condition of the variance.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask for a clarification? Are we setting a new posted speed limit of 5 miles an hour? Or is it an advisory speed limit, the yellow under the S-curve
Would be an advisory speed limit, I believe.
advisory? Thank you.
Okay, so let me restate this then. Based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed variance be approved, subject to posting an appropriate S-curve sign and an advisory speed limit sign of 5 miles an hour?
So moved in the affirmative.
Okay,
Second.
that okay with everybody? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Approved, 6-0. You got one. Variance application number VA 22-008. Brooks Engineering Associates, Zachary Wortman is requesting a road variance from the required 150-foot tangent between curves. TMS number 056-00-03-022. An unaddressed parcel with the closest address of 15740 North Highway 11, Salem, South Carolina 29676. Mr. Wortman.
Okay, so this is the same issue plus one other one. If you can just pull this up big and then zoom in right up here to the top. So this one is lacking the tangent distance, but there's also a curve issue here. So as you can see right up here, there's an existing stream, and so this road's an existing gravel road, just like the last one. They're proposing to pave it to 20 feet. So there's an existing culvert that bypasses a stream that goes under this road right up in this area. So we're stuck at our entrance point because that's an existing platted road, so the right-of-way is existing for this road coming in at the top, and it's gonna come into this curve here. So the curve is only 120 feet when it's required to be 150 feet. The tangents are also an issue here as well. But as you can see, it's the same thing. We have 157 feet of sight distance compared to the 155 for a 25-mile-per-hour road. We'll propose it at 15 with advisory signs. Also, so the 120-foot curve is required to be 150 in Oconee County, but SCDOT guidance for low-speed urban roads is 110 for a 20-mile-per-hour road. So if we go to 15, it should meet SCDOT standards.
You've got 120?
Yeah, we have 120 feet. So really the same issue. We meet sight distance. We meet if we go under, and I'm sure yours is 150 because SCDOT guidance for a 25-mile-per-hour road is 150. But if we propose a 15, SCDOT guidance doesn't have a curve radius for 15, but for 20, it's 110. And we're at 120. And the tangent is gonna be the same issue. We can put advisory signs up. So that's all I have on this one. It should be.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any staff comments? Any further comments, Mr. Reed?
No, again, the way you handle lessening a curve is super elevation, but that would impact the tangent between the two curves, so it's, if allowing a lower speed for that, then that would be the only way to handle it, because you can't do a super elevation curve and have another curve coming off of it, right there is gonna be a bad transition.
Zach, what's the drop off when you come across that bridge in where it's, you see the lot 3?
Yeah.
What's the drop off there off the road?
So, I mean, one thing that you could do, so there's a stream that goes under there, and the main reason for the curve is to prevent disturbance in the stream, because if we have to meet the 150-foot curve, we're gonna get pushed into the stream and have to get all kinds of US Army Corps permits to do work in the stream, and we don't really wanna disturb the stream as little as possible. So if we can keep this road on the existing culvert, it'll prevent us.
I'm just asking,
Yeah.
how far is the drop off there?
It looks to be about 10 feet based on the contours. That can always be guardrailed.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Because if that could be guardrailed, and I guess the timing of the siding or actually executing the hard topping of the road, that's not a guaranteed thing, correct?
It's gonna be hard
Is that
top.
gonna
before
be
they
hard
build.
top for sure?
Yeah, before they build, yeah.
Okay.
Before any homes go up, that road's gonna be done.
You know, we don't know is what's the history of these turns with accidents and we don't know all that stuff, so. Okay, thanks.
And again, this is, looks like half a dozen lots it's gonna serve.
I think it's 25.
Oh, 25.
But they're all about an acre and a half. Some of them are 2.
So the road goes down, oh, we just see the ball here, but it goes on
Yeah,
further.
so that's the issue that's in question for the road variance.
Yes, understand. Okay, any questions for Mr. Wortman? Okay, and staff, we've heard from you, so any comments from the gallery? Please, yes, sir.
I'm David Lowry. Guys, I live in the area there, and you asked the question a little bit, and I guess I would just ask to see the bigger picture, if we may, the number of lots are 20 to 25, and this seems to be much more, potentially, I don't know, I'm asking, more congested than the other area that you were showing. From some of the things that I've seen, it looks like, you mentioned acre and a half. I've seen a lot of the lots in smaller and a lot more congested area. And I'm just suggesting or asking, can we look at the bigger picture of this? And I don't know if this is the only variance in there, or there's more than one road. This is a Rattlesnake Ridge.
That was the last one.
That was the last one, I'm sorry, this is.
Consider Rattlesnake Ridge on the last variance. This is, we have the name of the road.
Sorry.
The Rattlesnake Ridge then is definitely many more lots than what we saw before. And maybe I missed that because the town land is written on here. That's not the way it's written on here. And the variance that we received in our mail that had this number on it was the Rattlesnake Ridge. And the Rattlesnake Ridge, what I've seen, has got 25 some lots going down there.
I think that's the
Well,
whole
it's
community.
4 or 5, but no, it's 25, 26.
I mean, this isn't
Less than an acre.
density.
I understand that, but if the road affected by density, we'll have a density meeting, bring it up now, maybe we do have a density meeting and talk, but for now, I think there's a lot more density than was shown in that picture on the big plots here.
So there's 12 lots.
We have a larger picture of the whole development.
So we're going back to the last issue.
But, we're not questioning.
Yeah, this isn't
that's
the
true.
issue though. The density.
on Rattlesnake, there's 12 on.
Could I interrupt here, please? We've got a problem here. We really don't want any interaction between members of the audience and the requester. I understand you're just trying to get information, but we're really outside our procedure, and it gets us into trouble if we let that become precedent. So I think you can stand, you understand, yeah, there's a larger number of lots in here. It's not a huge number.
No, Jim, he's going back to the last one.
And you want to talk, well, that's done. We can't talk that. That's,
Okay.
We're done with that.
Informed on the number that was mailed to our home that said it was a property next to us was the one that said 00 whatever on the sheet, and it was number 5 on here, so that's why we waited on that drawing, that's why we were waiting on number 5, that was the one that matched.
sorry, we're done with that one. I'm sorry you got mixed up on
Well, no, actually, we are talking about number 5 according to the
Number 5
agenda.
is what I was
Is number
thinking
8
as well.
on
It
right
says
now.
it's where I
The
live.
problem is we did 6 first and then 8. That,
Yeah,
I get what he's saying.
Okay,
Thank you, yeah. Yes, this is 008.
that's what we're on now, is 8.
008,
We're on 8.
that's right.
But that's not rattlesnake.
You know, the whole thing that we brought in.
Sir, how much more pertinent is this?
The pertinent part, I'm sorry, the pertinent part of it is, the part that we said was, when I was listening to the other, and you said there were 2 to 3 acre lots, these are not, in the area that we're talking about on the 008, they're much smaller lots with much more congestion.
Okay, we'll give them a chance to say something about that, and then,
Okay.
thank you, sir, I do appreciate your time. Is there anyone else has anything, any input on this? Mr. Wordman, would you like to just respond to the size of the lots and
Yeah,
number of
so,
lots?
size of the lots isn't what's under debate here.
No, it's not, I agree.
It's road variances only, so I don't have plans for the size of lots. It's, the only thing under consideration is road variances currently, so. That's all I have. And then we also did get them flipped. We did number 5 first and 4 second.
Okay,
But same issue, we're not dealing with densities.
yes,
just
I understand,
roads.
I understand.
Do you have some?
Yes, sir, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I will respond. So that parcel that Mr. Lauer is talking about, there are 2 roads. One currently meets, once it's paved, meets county standards. It's called Canebrake, has 12 lots on it. Rattlesnake Ridge will have no more than 18 lots on it. So those are really 2 separate, you know, the road in question was Rattlesnake Ridge. So in that area of 60 acres, there's 30 lots planned, so it'll be 30 or less, because when we get in there and look at the sir? 35, sorry, on about 60 acres. So,
Yeah, the only reason I think I brought it up originally is just, it's not a densely populated development. I think we've had some here where we're gonna have several per acre, several lots per acre, and we're not gonna have that. I just brought that up. And I agree also, the density is not an issue here. It's just to help us understand what the road issue might be.
Yes,
That's
yes.
that's the only reason we bring it up.
Understood.
We're not talking density. Okay, you don't got any discussion before we proceed to consider this? Okay. First issue, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. I have a motion in the affirmative,
So
please.
moved in the affirmative.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. 6-0 approved. These conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. I have a motion in the affirmative,
So
please.
moved in the affirmative.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. 6-0, approved. Because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. I have a motion in the affirmative, please.
So moved in the affirmative.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. 6-0 approved. The authorization of variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent uses or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. I have a motion in the affirmative,
So moved in the
please.
affirmative.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
The only thing I would ask again is going back to the guardrail issue coming off the bridge.
I agree. Let's cover that when we get to the final.
right,
We
that's
can-
fine.
If we want to put conditions on,
All right,
we'll put
it's
conditions.
always the last
Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, so on this particular issue, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. 6-0 approved. Before I say anything, we would like a guardrail at the entrance curve. I think you're saying it looks like it's appropriate to have a guardrail
Coming over the bridge.
coming over the
On the
bridge.
far
Okay.
side.
Okay. And how about speed limits? How do we,
You want some S-curve signs?
S-curve
and-
signing?
And a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit.
people feel comfortable with 15 miles an hour in this case?
Is that different than the 5? I mean, it seems like the road isn't any more curvy than the other one.
I think this one, it doesn't have a severer curve though
Doesn't
as
seem to
the
be
other
as
one.
severe.
And there's more of a
I think
tangent
15,
in
I
the
think
road.
15's appropriate. I think 15's appropriate. That's my vote.
Okay. Okay, based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed variance be approved with the following conditions? That appropriate warning signs be placed on the curves, that a 15-mile-an-hour advisory speed limit be placed, and that an appropriate guardrail be erected on the outside of the initial curve into the property.
So moved in the affirmative?
Is there a second? Is there any discussion on what I said? Feel comfortable? James, have I said anything there that's not right? Going to give you problems?
You want guardrail only on the north side?
I think that
I
was
think
the
so,
only.
yeah.
Okay, I'm just confirming so I write it in that it's clear.
North side, okay, north side. Is that okay? Okay.
The curve is worse. It's a 120-foot radius curve.
Oh, it is?
It's a 50 radius curve. I believe they're talking about putting a 15-mile-per-hour regulatory speed limit sign on the road itself. That, yeah.
So we
So
could
they're
maybe-
already gonna have a 15-mile-per-hour.
So we could do a 5-mile-an-hour
Want to go down to
advisory.
5 then?
Then put a 5,
That curve.
Yeah.
change it to a
Okay,
5
so-
then.
Like to amend the motion to say a 5-mile-an-hour advisory speed limit as opposed to a 15. Is that okay for you, James? You got, okay. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. So I've stated that. I need a motion in the affirmative for that.
So moved in the affirmative?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Thank you, 6-0. Okay, you got 2.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, just want to make sure we have the right.
Okay, next item on the agenda. Special exception application number SE 22-006-HSB, PA. Sarah Spruill, did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Spruill?
Yes, sir.
Requesting a special exception hearing for a communications tower, TMS number 016-00-01-001, with an address of 100 Bad Creek Road, Salem, South Carolina, 92676, top of the county.
Yes, sir. I'm Sarah Sproul of Painsborough, Sinclair Boyd, and Greenville. I'm here on behalf of Duke Energy. Duke Energy is seeking to put a new communications tower on its 1,000-plus acre parcel that's the home of the Bad Creek Hydro Station at the far north end of the county. Coupled with this request for the special exception is a request for additional height and a request for a fall zone variance. You'll see we've submitted extensive materials. I have technical support with me, including this lovely model of the tower. If y'all have any questions about the specifics of the tower, Duke has also indicated that the existing tower will be removed as part of this project. The existing tower has become obsolete for the things that Duke needs to be able to do at that parcel. As set forth in the application, this is to support Duke's smart grid, communications, operational technologies, land mobile radio systems, AT&T's FirstNet capability, which connects first responders all over. It is, in general, a significant operational upgrade. But due to the unique qualities of this parcel, which includes a water body, conservation easements, mountainous topographies, the only site that will support all of the things that Duke needs to do is the site that's been requested in this special exception and variance application. If you look in the materials at Exhibit 1, there is, and I'm just presenting all of this at once because it makes sense to talk about it together. At Exhibit 1, you see the Fall Creek, the fall letter, which explains how the tower has been designed so that if for some reason there was a catastrophe, the tower wouldn't fall over at its full height. It would crumple on itself. So the actual fall radius is much smaller than the full height of the tower, which you can see more clearly in, I believe it's Exhibit 5 to the application, which shows that.
Page number would help. You got page numbers on what you've got?
I just have exhibit numbers.
These aren't numbered anyhow.
Yeah, the pages
They're
are
not
on the
numbered.
bottom.
I've seen the exhibit you're talking about, but
Yeah, it's on the, unfortunately, it's after this big long one with all of these columns that he's scrolling through right now. But when you look at, when we get there, when you look at that site map, you can see exactly what Duke is proposing and why it is highly unlikely that in the unlikely event of a catastrophe with this tower, that it would fall across the road.
I know you had a circle drawn. It was an independent engineering
That's right,
outfit that did the analysis, and there was a circle drawn around it somewhere.
that's right, and we're getting close now. I apologize for all the scrolling. Here we go. So you see that circle there, and you see it goes to the edge of the road, but not across the road. And the total height requested is 360 feet to the very top. As required by the county, we did the balloon test. We had the balloon up there over a couple of different days. We had one question about it, but it wasn't a complaint, and that person's card is in the materials. So, in general, that is the proposal, that is what Duke Energy would like to do, and I have all sorts of technical resources here if y'all have questions about the specifics of the proposal.
Are you putting this tower in the same location as the one you're taking down?
Not quite.
Can you show us where the old one is and where the new one's going in?
Please come up and state your
Come
name.
on up.
You can bring your model up if you like. We'd sure like to see
We
it.
talk about fall zones and radiuses, that's the fun stuff.
Do you mind if we pop it right here on the corner?
So the existing tower is down Back Creek Road and then up in kind of a ridge line. It's a small tower, it's less than 200 feet.
So is it not on this?
It's not shown on these drawings, but we do have plans to remove it once all the services are moved to the new tower.
I think there's a picture of it in here, a little further on from where we're looking
Yeah, I
at.
saw it.
You see that?
I just didn't know if it was on this lot or not.
Okay, so what you want to do is you want to build a tower twice as high as any tower we have in the county,
That's right,
3 times as high as the tree canopy.
that's right.
Just try to clarify what you want to do.
Duke is an unusual property owner with unusual needs, and those needs very much need this tower.
Understand? You're putting microwave on there,
Yes, sir.
and that's to get to Charlotte?
And it bounces on local towers, other towers that are surrounding. Microwave paths are only good for about 20, 25.
Oh, okay.
So now, is this gonna be just for Duke Power access, or is this gonna be if we're,
So-
cell phones are gonna be able to use this tower?
Yeah, my name is Patrick Bernier, I live right down the road in West Union, so, this tower, Duke was approached by AT&T's FirstNet system. They needed a height of 300 feet to service in their whole area that they wanted to service. So when we looked at our tower and our needs, we said, okay, if AT&T's FirstNet's at 300 feet, there's a buffer between commercial use on our towers and then the other antennas and microwaves and stuff that we need on those towers. So our LMR system is at the very, very top. Those LMR antennas are horizontal, vertically separated whenever possible by 50 feet. So you can see how the tower grew from what we normally would build as a 300-foot tower. It grew to 360 foot to accommodate AT&T at the right level. The LMR at the top, and then the microwaves are pathed in specific to we like to put the microwaves on the lowest point that the path is viable. So the tower has microwave, it has LMR, we have a future capacity for additional carriers, we have future capacity for additional Duke use. So hopefully this one tower in this one location at a high enough, it's right along Back Creek Road, so it's in the right spot to service a lot of different uses, both for Duke and commercially. And we anticipate AT&T not being the only carrier on the tower.
The AT&T, this is for their specialized emergency response network, isn't it?
Yes. The
So
first
it doesn't have anything to do with public's interest is in cell phones. Cell phone
It will, my understanding.
will accommodate cell phone companies.
Yes.
No problem.
I anticipate this tower getting leased out by our sister company, PeakNet, to other carriers very, very soon. I mean, it's in a great location, it's a great height.
Sure, yeah, I see it's attractive, just want to make sure they can use it.
Yeah, and we've accommodated future ground space as well. You can look at it if you want to go through the drawings, but we've widened the entire, we're fencing in the entire top of that knoll where it's flat, so that additional future capacity can be done.
You've got space in that area.
Since you brought the model up, can you kind of quickly walk through how that thing crumbles on itself?
So, yeah, a lot of people think that when there's a wind event, the tower will lean over, and the foundations are deep, they're all the way down to, I think these are like 80 feet deep or something. But people will think that the tower will tip over like this. These towers are designed at whatever point that we want, this will break. So the wind, during a wind event, even a high wind event, the top of the tower will fold over onto the side of the tower. Well, once that does, the wind load that the tower sees is now at half, or whatever the fall distance is. So the wind load being, the foundations won't pull out of the ground, the tower becomes less vertical and less surface area for the wind to hit, and then it's done. I mean, it won't collapse any further than that. It won't lay over, it won't disintegrate.
And what is the design limit? You've got ice loading and wind velocities?
Yeah,
Is
so-
there- I forget what those are.
So I like to call our towers utility grade. They're all solid blade towers. There's no hollow members on them, so they last a lot longer. They're designed risk category 3, which is the highest risk category for the engineering standard from the government. They are, I'd have to look this one up in particular. It is in the package. I think it's 140 mile an hour wind, half-inch radial ice, and then a lower wind speed with like an inch of radial ice. I look at a lot of towers. I got 160 in my kit that we're replacing. So this specific one, I can talk a lot of generalities. I'd have to go back and look in the details for specifics, but generally speaking, 140 mile an hour wind.
Is this particular methodology of building towers that collapse in the middle, has that been done before?
Yes,
Is that
all-
now the newest standard for how they're gonna be built?
It's our standard. It's a Duke standard. We build a lot of these towers like in substations, next to substations, next to transmission line corridors and stuff like that. So we want to know where they're gonna break. We want to know where they're gonna collapse.
I don't know if you realize, but there was a storm, I think it was 2 years ago, down on 188, right as you come across the railroad tracks on the right-hand side, that exactly thing that happened. The main part of the tower remained and the top part came over. And it also allowed them to get it back into service rather quickly.
That was just a little,
That was
Local
a
communications
relatively
tower.
short.
That was nothing like you've
That was
got.
fairly short, but it had the same,
yeah.
same principle.
Yeah, that was the one with the internet service.
Yes, exactly.
One tone on it, yeah. I actually called the guy. I was like, look, my internet's down now. So anything I can do to help you put your tower back up, I'll do.
That's a good example of what you're,
Yes.
Have I got it right? Does this enable you to connect directly to Charlotte?
No, it links into part of our optical network and part of our microwave network.
Okay, okay.
Our whole network speaks to Charlotte, and it speaks to everyone.
I understand. I thought that's maybe why you wanted it, with the Bad Creek expansion coming on and that kind of thing.
But it'll help us improve. We're actually run down along the property, we'll plug it into our optical network down by the garden shack.
As I understand, Bad Creek runs remotely from Charlotte, I believe. You don't know?
Speak to that.
I've been told that before. They run it from Charlotte, start it and stop it, and they don't have a crew running it at Bad Creek. So that's why I asked the questions. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
He says that's correct. I
Wow, we got someone.
had an answer in the back row.
Okay, thank you. We'll give you a chance to say something later if we have any comments.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Staff, do you have any comments? We haven't had any objections to the,
We've had a lot of calls about if people service will improve, including people from North Carolina asking if their cell service is going to improve. But no comments in the negative. and
no negative comments about
just
the,
all personal questions, nothing about that.
we'll be able to see it from here. Okay, so any comments from the audience then? Anyone have anything to say? Any positive, negative, any questions, comments from the audience? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, a point of order, would it be appropriate to combine these two and do them as one? Since we've discussed it as one?
They're two separate variances. We've got to keep them separate. Well, I think we'll move fairly quickly through the second one. Okay, let's proceed to consideration. Make sure I'm in the right place here. Yes. And this is a special exception, it's not a variance. It's a little bit different wording. This request is in accordance with the comprehensive plan and consistent with the spirit, purposes, and the intent and specific requirements of this chapter, to include the definition and intent of the district in which the special exception is being requested. But I have a motion in the affirmative, please.
So moved in the affirmative?
Is there a second? Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
What's that?
What'd I say? What?
I was just trying to, who was the second? Second,
Oh,
thank you.
okay. All those in favor, please say aye. 6-0. This request is in the best interest of the county, the convenience of the community, and the public welfare. Can I have a motion in the affirmative, please?
So moved in the affirmative?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll say this, we were working up there on Wigington Road, we did some asphalt work up there and on 107, and there is nothing up there. I mean, you go up there and you're just in a dead zone. There's no communication until you get about halfway to State Park, and then it clicks back in a little bit. So I think this is, as going back just a few years ago, we had a family in here who lost a daughter up in that area and said that, they couldn't find her because they had no cell service from her phone, if y'all remember that. So I think anytime we can get some more communication areas out of these dark ages, I think it's very important we do that.
I think you're right. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. We have 6-0 approved. Is suitable for the property in question and designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so as to be in harmony with and appropriate in appearance to the existing or intended character of the general vicinity. We have a motion in the affirmative.
So moved in the affirmative?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. 6-0. Is suitable in terms of effects on highway traffic, parking, and safety, with adequate access arrangements to protect streets from undue congestion and hazards. Do I have a motion in the affirmative,
So moved
please?
in the affirmative?
Is there a second?
Second.
Second? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand, 6-0. Based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed special exception to be approved?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No special conditions or anything, I don't think? Just raising the question. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Approved 6-0. Okay, halfway home. Next request is variance application number VA 22-0010-HSB-PA, Sarah Spruihill, is requesting a 185-foot height variance, 175-foot maximum, and 250-foot fall zone variance from the required 360-foot requirement. TMS number 016-00-01-001 with an address of 100 Bad Creek Road, Salem, South Carolina, 92676. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Again, Sarah Sproul from Hainsworth Sinclair Boyd here on behalf of Duke Energy. We talked about the two variance issues here, both the height and the fall zone. If y'all have any further questions, I have people here that can answer them, but I don't intend to make any further presentation unless the board wishes it.
Fine, thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you. We'll get back to you if we need to. Any staff comments?
The only thing I'd say is that the fall zone is also the setback for the tower, so it is, the fall zone and the setback are kind of combined, because that is what, the total height of the tower is what dictates the setback and the fall zone.
I'm sorry, what setback from where to what? What are we talking, what setback are we talking?
So the setback is determined by the height of the tower, the fall zone is determined by the height of the power, so they're essentially the same thing, so the setback and the fall zone are both combined in this.
I see, okay. Any comments from the audience? I don't think I've done that yet, have I? Hearing no comments from the audience, we'll move to consider this. This is a variance, so go back to our variance wording. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. Have a motion in the affirmative, please.
So moved in the affirmative.
Second. Here a second? Second. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. 6-0 approved. These conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Have a motion, please?
So moved in the affirmative.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. 6-0. Because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Have a motion and second,
So
please.
moved in the affirmative.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. 6-0 approved. The authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent uses or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Have a motion and a second,
So
please.
moved in the affirmative.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. 6-0. Based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed variance be approved?
So moved in the affirmative.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. 6-0 approved. Okay. Request is approved. 2 for 2.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for all your preparation coming here.
We appreciate it.
Do we get to keep the tower model?
All over the
I was gonna
place.
say, good people in
This
Florida.
be look right, real good right next to the county council
Can you
chairman.
make the top of it look like a pine tree?
Somebody must have a grandchild that could use that.
And one item for discussion, guys, if you bear with me just a minute. James has asked us to have a discussion at some time about procedures, policy, and that kind of thing around how he notifies people, timeframes, that kind of thing. And we've had this discussion, like, we changed policy and procedures like 3 or 4 years ago. We'd like to look at it again. He's got a couple of issues. So we'll be thinking about, like, the signage. Is the signage okay? Have you seen the signage? If you've gone out to see the properties? That kind notifications, mail notifications, all that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to open up a can of worms for you, James, but, so I'm going to ask him to just put it on the agenda for next time. If we got a long meeting, we'll just postpone it, so we have a little bit shorter meeting. But I'd like to get it in the record that we're going to consider that. Is that fair? We don't need a motion or anything, I just want to, as long as you guys are comfortable with that. You comfortable with that, James? Yep. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's out of here. Thank you. Thank you again, folks.